Okay, so hi all, welcome to this session in the FinTech Abu Dhabi Festival. We'll be talking about digital banking in the Middle East. In this time, the speakers joining will be Heza from the Central Bank of United Arab Emirates, Som from the Mashreq, Judy from FAB, the First Abu Dhabi Bank, and Eugene from Mashu. So my name is Carol, and I belong to the IT Consulting and Innovation Department in Grant Thornton. At the moment, I am a bit of a specialist related to blockchain and cybersecurity in the financial sector, and this is why we'll be speaking today more specifically about FinTech. So I would like to introduce just the current situation within the country. The FinTech advances in all the countries has been different, creating various and fragmented landscapes. So the thing is that the common target at the moment is the idea to reduce cash transactions in favor to improve digital payments. Specifically, it's been said that the FinTech market will account for 8% of Middle East financial services revenue by 2022. So this growth is propelled by rising FinTech startups, the growth of the Islamic banking industry, increasing the use of internet and mobile phone. So another major fact is that the several traditional banks are undergoing digital transformation in order to reach more customers and compete with the FinTechs. This is why we have in here one person representing each of these sites, and I would like at the moment to start on this, I would like to have Eugene telling me if he agrees with this forecast and what's his opinion about it. Also, how are you working to keep with the inevitable financial growth?
Thanks, Carol. So yeah, from what we're seeing right now in the Middle East region, I think the forecasts are have all the ingredients to be very accurate. There's a lot of factors that come to play into the growth of FinTech, and it's things we've seen before in other markets as well. So for instance, the fact how the Gulf region policymakers, the regulators are been implementing pretty forward-thinking and relatively agile policies to encourage a relatively diverse and competitive and innovative FinTech landscape is a really big driving factor in this. You saw this before play out probably about 5 years ago, I guess, in the UK market when you had the regulators really open the doors to challenger banks. And that really spawned a lot of FinTech innovation and spawned the market to really make a lot of moves. So I think what we're seeing in the MENA region is relatively similar to that. So that really is a really big driving factor for it. And on the demand side of it, the region itself is home to over 400 million people, and the important part of that is that more than half of that is population that's under 30 years old. So those are the people also that are most interested in kind of these digital products and adopting new products that have less ties to kind of traditional banking, traditional models, that are not probably as concerned about how things were done in the past. And they're the ones which are much more likely to adopt new products and new services, either coming from FinTechs or they're coming from traditional banks in a different way. So I think all of those sort of ingredients are very much ripe for FinTech to have a very rapid growth in the Middle East. And for us ourselves as Mambu, as a platform, we're a little bit different than some of the other panelists because we ourselves are not providing financial services, but we're providing a technology that enables FinTechs and banks, non-banks, telcos, and others to provision and build those financial products in a modern and agile way. But we ourselves also have to kind of keep up with all the change that's happening in the market. And the way we do that is we're relatively lucky because we're a global company. So we have customers literally from the West Coast of the US to China, from the UK to South Africa, and of course, in the Middle East as well. And what we try to do to make sure that we are always on top of the latest changes is we're a product-led company, which means we get our product management and our product people involved in a lot of conversations early on to try to understand what are opportunities for us to advance our technology. So we do that with our customers. We don't just simply, persuade our customers that they should use our technology. We also get in there to try to understand how can we actually make our platform better, because for us that has benefits because we can apply that to additional markets we're in. But we also work closely with consultancies in the markets. We work with other complementary technology companies, so companies which are working in the blockchain space, which are doing payments, which are doing KYC. And then we try to also learn how we can advance our platform to better connect to a lot of these complementary technologies, and also working with the regulatory bodies as well. So seeing how, what are their thoughts, what are their concerns, and again, how does that affect not so much the features and capabilities of our platform, but the services that we provide, the security and so forth. So for us as a product-led company, it's that really close involvement of the product leadership with a lot of our different stakeholders, and trying to understand what is needed in the future of those organizations, and to start building that into our capabilities and into our roadmaps.
Well, thank you, Eugene. Actually, this is bringing me, maybe Hesa, can you give me just 1 minute, a short opinion? Do you agree with Eugene, or what's the opinion on your side? Maybe, I don't know if you can call the central bank the other side, or how do you consider yourself actually, but it will be nice to hear your opinion.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. Actually, we've all noticed the change in the financial industry that is led by the consumer behavior. Consumers and customers nowadays are interested in having fast, reliable, convenient services and products, which all of us need to cope with, whether we're the service provider, financial institution, or regulator. In fact, a few years back in 2018, when the central bank has issued its new law, we put this in mind, and we have embedded digital banking in our licensed financial activities. To have like a base and a pillar to build on the future. And since then, we've provided our initial approval for our first local-based fully digital bank, and there's another application also in the pipeline. What else have we done as the Central Bank of UAE? We've issued regulations, and we're currently also developing regulations to cover both aspects, or both elements, the technological part and the financial part, which, to be frank, was found not very easy due to the special needs and technical let's say specialization. So we were trying to achieve all of that, and at the same time ensuring to have a sufficient level of consumer protection. We also do understand that the future customers are very sophisticated. So we also need to ensure that they have sufficient level of information to enable them to have their own, or do their own optimal decisions. We need to do all of this while we're looking at the existing financial institution and existing financial traditional system without damaging our existing financial system.
Great, Hesa. I think that you have a general good point of view, and of course you have to take into account the clients, the customers, how to regulate properly everything, and also to maybe keep a part of the traditional banking and move into the, let's say, to the modern banking. But if we speak about technology, I would like now to ask which technologies from a banking point of view do you consider more suitable at the moment to apply in the financial sector, because there are many new technologies and we should know how to combine them with the traditional ones. So what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I think, first of all, there are a lot of technology that is available today. So it is not about technology. It's actually about consumers, customers, and the use of technology. That's the priority. And I like to answer this in three parts where I think there is a priority of how you can use technology to bring a significant difference in the client experience. First is on onboarding a customer, where you use a lot of authentication as well as identification kind of technologies, whether it is OCRs, NFCs, whether it is the digital recognition, the facial recognition, things like that. That's one category where you can use, because this will help us to bring down the cost of acquisition as well as a much better client experience, number one. Number two will be the area of the client communication, which is primarily in the messaging. And I think there's a lot of new technology available in connecting with the customers and sharing the insights, either notifications or details, that help the customer to do more activities. And my third area where I will say that there is a lot of technology that is available that should be used and are being used is in what may sound a little different, in making banking transaction invisible. Today, really with the help of technology, you can embed what a consumer does without him specifically asking or doing that activity. And there are enough technology available to embed the transaction without specifically invoking what you're trying to do. So in summary, lots of technology available, but in new customer onboarding, in customer communication and messaging, and in making customer transactions invisible. But the key to all of this is the customer, and the customer adoption is what drives all of these and the usage of technology.
Thank you, Sam. I think that it's very key, the part of making invisible the transactions. Now we're moving to Judy from the FAB. Actually, I wanted him to complement your answer, but maybe we can also change a bit to the part of why do you, Yuri, consider important funding fintech programs and adopting open banking mandates to encourage collaboration between fintechs and traditional financial institutions?
Thanks, Carol. As usual, the mute button. First of all, we truly believe that the only way the whole economy and the country financial service ecosystem could thrive and grow is only way through collaboration, and collaboration between traditional financial institutions also and also the fintechs and the newcomers to the industry. For example, we in FAB have now 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. We established the innovation lab and effectively sort of the special unit which works with the fintechs pipeline, which incubates, provides some sort of a sandbox environment, and also provides the ability for fintechs and sort of smaller, less traditional companies to come in, see what use cases we have, and try to see how they can solve our use cases. And I think sort of, first of all, we need to make sure that one of the ways for us to make sure that the fintechs are relevant is to give them the right incentive to answer the real questions, and answer the real problems, and try to fix the real problems with the banking establishing. So effectively, we, on one side, we give through the funding and sort of collaboration between banking and fintech, we believe that there is a sense of reality check. So they're aware of what problems we're solving. And also for banks, it's a huge advantage because we are exposed to new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things, new technology, stacks and innovation, which is happening in this space. So it's absolutely a two-way collaboration, and we believe that that works really well. And speaking about open banking, there's always been, I think Hassan mentioned it, a lot of regulatory and really good thinking coming from the Central Bank of UAE in terms of how to accelerate and make also safer an adoption of new technologies and new financial services models in the country. open banking, from my perspective, is critical because it not only will establish some sort of a meaningful set of standards of communication between different financial institutions, but it also needs to resolve the problem of education of customers and sort of driving the consent. Because a big problem in the open banking which comes out is, as you have this proliferation of different companies providing financial services, how do you inform, educate, and consistently manage the how will customers be informed, educated, and how will the customers manage their exposure to different risks, right? For example, if I am using a fintech application to manage my accounts, for example, through open banking ecosystem, how do I provide explicit consent to the banks to share my information? How do I as a bank know that the customer knows what they're doing, they manage their risks, they understand their risks, and sort of driving this educational risk management and how to say consistency across the whole ecosystem, I think is sort of fundamental role of the open banking frameworks, right? It's not just APIs, it's also about all the other sort of softer parts of the configuration. So from my perspective, there's two things hugely important. One is the community and ecosystem working together, both traditional banks and fintechs, and I think using open banking frameworks to drive down technology level integrations, but also the customer facing sort of risk and educational and sort of educational aspects of things.
Thanks, Judy. Actually, before going to the last question I wanted to ask, you have mentioned, Judy, the collaboration ecosystem. And I guess that if all the participants, Eugene, Hesa, Som, and you are in here, is because you believe in the collaboration within the financial ecosystem. So I just wanted to ask, do any one of you disagree with this or think that at the moment in the Middle East, there's a need to improve this collaboration or something like that in order to evolve properly?
If I can start to that, I think, often in various conferences, it is portrayed as if traditional banks and fintechs are two different bodies trying to fight each other. And I think that paradigm has to stop. The real opportunity is in both fintechs and existing financial institutions working together. That's the objective, and that's where the win-win is for everybody. Number two, the traditional banks are investing and changing significantly. For instance, in Mashreq, for the last couple of years, we have invested significantly in totally changing the technology and being able to be almost like a fintech. So I think banks are investing significantly. Fintechs, there are some fintechs who are standalone banks, very few of them. Many of them are fintechs with very unique capability that can be used inside a bank. And a traditional bank, the word that you use, as time goes, they will be more modern and more fintech banks. So I think this concept of traditional banking and traditional banks will die well before traditional banks, if ever they would. Banking will stay, and banking will be done in a modern way. And it is the consumer who's driving all of these. And it's the use of technology that's allowing this to happen. And in my mind, instead of creating divides and different units, the more they work together, the better it is. And it is the environment, the local governments, the regulations, the central bank can facilitate that. But it's the consumer who's driving an enormous congruence of use of various technologies that banks can use to bring a superior client experience in the current world.
Thank you, Sam. Now that you mentioned the central bank, Hesa, how do you think that you, from a central bank point of view, can collaborate within this ecosystem besides all that you have mentioned before? And also, my second question for you at the moment is more related to technology. I wanted to ask you about cybersecurity. Do you consider it to be a cross and imperative technology to focus on?
I'll take your second question first. During the past 3 or 4 years, especially after the issuance of the new central bank law and the new regulations related to fintech and digital banking, we've noticed that most of the applications that the central bank has received are related to fintech. I mean, this is the future, whether we as a regulator or the financial institutions themselves, they know that this is the future, this is what everything is going towards. Which on the other hand, raise the bar significantly when it comes to cybersecurity. It made us look at consumer protection from completely different perspective. Beside all of these, I'm sure that not only the central bank, we're all here contributing to the growth of the country, the United Arab Emirates. And we're all in the process or endorsing the acceleration of the national strategy, the digitalization of the financial industry. We're all in it. It's not like the central banks or regulators are working alone, or banks are working alone, or fintech companies are working alone. We're all in it. It's as previously mentioned by the people here, that it is driven by the consumer themselves. I mean, by the end of the day, we all aim to have a better quality of services provided to customers, better consumer protection, even for banks and financial institutions. By taking this route, they know that their operational cost will decrease in the long term due to the use of digitalization, automation, AIs, etc. So this will add to the will have an added value for the financial institutions as well. And there's one thing also I'd like to mention is the current unbanked segment in the society. I believe that with those innovations that we're noticing in the market, it will tap on those segments as well. So those are the main things that I've wanted to mention, and I'm sure that most of the or all of us here do agree about those points. And as I said, as I mentioned, by the end of the day, this will all add to the growth of the country, to the growth of the institution. And I think that if we're not being proactive now, if institutions or regulators or financial service providers decide to, let's say, stay and do the things traditionally the way they are, they're going to be left out. They need to be proactive. They need to. It's not. We're not running. We're not. It's like a rocket. They need to jump on it, or they're going to be left behind.
Thank you, Hesa. So actually, you kind of wrap up everything at the moment, so it's very good. I think the four speakers in here agree that the center of all this financial evolution is the consumer, the customer, and in order to provide the best solutions and to protect them, there's a huge collaboration ecosystem within the Middle East with all the participants, from the FinTechs to the private banks and the central banks, all the financial institutions. And thank you all. Thank you for showing your point of view and for showing that we all are going in the same track at the end.
Thank you, Carol.
Thanks so much, Carol.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.